Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of our Southern California housing market update for first-time buyers and entry-level buyers. My name is Stephen Meade with Domicile Real Estate, where we are on a mission to help California's renters become homeowners. Before we start, I want to talk about something really quick, and that is a really interesting comment that somebody put on one of our videos on YouTube, and that comment was, "Oh, I see you're just saying these things to increase your views for monetization." Well, I'm going to tell everybody something so you understand. My channel is not monetized. I do not make any ad revenue. I don't have sponsors on these videos. Why do we do these videos? Well, I'll be honest. Here's the reason why we do these videos. Number one, there's a couple reasons. Number one, I think that first-time home buyers are in a group where they generally have the lowest information of home buyers. I think that that's unfortunate, and I'd like to do something about it. Number two, our hope is that if you would like to become a homeowner, or you know someone who should be a homeowner, that you give us a call. We own a real estate brokerage here. We do a lot of work with first-time home buyers. I believe in homeownership. I bought my own first house when I was 25 years old. I think it is the number one way to improve communities, also to improve wealth across many different diverse groups. And I want to be a part of helping people do that. So that's our other reasons for these videos, is demonstrate our expertise. Hopefully you'll like it and give us a call. And then the final reason is, I think for me, it keeps me on my toes. I like to be informed. I like to stay informed. And by doing these videos weekly, it's actually an accountability measure for me as well. So now, without further ado, let's jump into the stats, because it's kind of an interesting week. I think there's some mixed signals here. I'm going to go over what those mean and how this market is changing. So here we are. So let's talk about closed prices first. And if you look here, things are a little different on this chart than they are on our whole market chart. And if you look where are we at right now, our first quartile for single family homes, just remember a median, if a median is midway between the cheapest and the most expensive, the first quartile is the way between midway between the cheapest and the median. So it's kind of like one quarter up the ladder. And we use that as an approximation for entry-level homes. And we define our entry-level home as this 3-bedroom, 2-bath, single family in LA and Orange counties. And that number is at 777,000. When is the last time we saw a number similar to that? Well, we saw it back here, back in June. We saw it here back in May. So really, we've been kind of hovering. I think if you look at this, is this a slight general downward trend? Yes, but I think the key word here is slight. So not a huge amount of price movement. We're certainly not moving up like we were in the spring, right? Like that's an obvious movement. So we're looking at our entry-level condo, which again, we define as a 2-bedroom, 2-bath. We wanted to pick a realistic category. That first quartile price is at $550. That's been pretty stable. Is it down from where it's been a little bit? Yes, but again, this is a pretty gentle decline, kind of in that maybe 5% neighborhood, maybe. So not really a huge amount of movement on prices. We look at our monthly payment. I think this really sort of gives you an idea of what's happening in this market and why this market is behaving the way it is. So if you look at our total monthly payment, this is based on 5% down, including mortgage, insurance, taxes. We really wanted to give people an idea of that complete housing payment. It even includes HOA in the case of our entry-level condo. And where are we at? Well, we're right here around $5,500 for our entry-level single-family home, and we're right around $4,200 for our entry-level condo. And what's really important to look here is when you look at this graph, you see it kind of went up, and then really it's kind of hit this sort of plateau point, right? And the interest rates have largely caused this, but I think this tells you where is that market equilibrium in terms of payment. And I truly believe this. This is really how most consumers, especially first-time home buyers, make their buying decision. It is based on payments. It's not based on some multiple of salary. It's not based on all these other figures. It's based on payments, and it's based on comparing it to rental costs. This is the way consumers make decisions because they say, I need housing and I can either rent it or I can buy it. Now, what's our minimum household income required? Right around $140,000 for entry-level single family home, or $103,000 for entry-level condo. I think in a dual income household, these are not unnecessarily difficult targets to reach. I think they're very much possible. Here is where things start to change a little bit. So if you look at our 14-day absorption rate, what have you seen? Pretty much since the beginning of the year, there's really been this downward trend. And this does move around back and forth to some degree. And I think the question is, we've seen it jump up. I mean, it jumped up 10% week over week for our entry-level single-family home, and it jumped up 9% over the week. That is a really, really big jump in 1 week, big enough for me to think that we've kind of bottomed out on these absorption rates, right? And just as a reminder, what is an absorption rate? This basically is a very simple calculation, very simple. How many houses came on the market this week? How many houses went into escrow this week? Really just a super simple calculation. So, it's not an infallible, but it's kind of a quick and dirty that lets you know how our supply and demand in balance. So what do you see here is that you see that this looks like we might be have reached this equilibrium stabilization point. We're going to sit around this point for a while. 60% to 70%. It's a pretty mild seller's market, right? Again, I want to emphasize it really does depend on the houses you're looking at. An underpriced home that shows beautifully in pictures, there will be multiple bids and you will have a lot of competition for that house. House that backs the railroad tracks that looks awful in pictures, you might not have any competition at all. Here's the other thing that I wanted to talk about was inventory. Now, last week we talked about it looked like this curve was flattening out. The red line is our entry-level single-family homes, and in fact, it is in fact flat. It is in fact evening and flattening out. We're also seeing some flattening here on condos. Where are we relative to last year? Condos were up a little bit, less than 10%, but we were at $1,750 a year ago for our entry-level single-family homes. Where are we today? We are at right around $2,750 or another $1,000, right? I mean that really is a pretty big jump. Maybe even a 60% jump in inventory, but it does look like it's evening out. So that's another sign really that this stage of the market is reaching some maturity. I think people are used to interest rates being in the 5-ish% range. If we look at our 14 days still active, that's another sign of hitting an equilibrium point as we kind of hit this little peak up here, and we might even be starting to turn downward. This looks at all the homes that came on the market in the last 14 days and says, how many are still active? One of the things we are noticing that is skewing this a little bit is we are noticing more and more agents are putting listings in coming soon status. And this means that listing gets to be visible before that days on market starts counting. So that's attractive for agents who think they might be in a slower market and they want to get a little bit more exposure before the clock actually starts ticking on their listing. So that might be skewing these numbers up a little bit. And then finally, we have our inventory numbers. This is another sign, right, that we kind of reached a little bit of a peak here. We've dropped from 9 weeks of inventory down to under 8 in our single family homes. And for entry-level condos, we were here above 10 and then dropped down again to about 9 weeks of inventory. So we've seen this turn a little bit, right? And I feel like that is a little bit of a turning point in our market. I think a big part of this is interest rates. They really, I think people have a little bit more confidence and they're a little bit more used to where the interest rates are. Obviously that can change in a dime. And I always tell people this. So, if there's a takeaway from all this, you want to have the data to make good decisions today. You want to understand what you're doing. You want to understand, does this present market fit within your personal strategy and your long-term goals? But at the same time, this is not an accurate prediction of what's going to happen next week. I mean, we call it the market update. It is not the market prediction. And there's a reason for that. And I think anybody who's selling you market predictions I think they're really more selling you entertainment. A colleague of mine, who I'm not going to call out by name, sometimes he watches these videos. He sent me a link to a gentleman with a YouTube channel whose videos regularly get over 200,000 views, right? Way more views than I get. And I went back over the last year. A third of his videos have the word crash of some type in the title. And, this is a person that is, they're making money off their content, right? Like, they want the views. The word crash will get you views. I don't know if that's the most useful information to give people, though. I think it elicits an emotional response. And, here we're about doing the opposite. Anyhow, I want to thank you so much for watching. Questions, comments, as always, we love them. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. And once again, really one of the purposes of our channel is to show and demonstrate our expertise. If you are looking to become a homeowner in the Southern California area, or you know someone who should be becoming a homeowner in the Southern California area, we would absolutely love to talk with you. There is a link down below for a 15-minute, no cost, no obligation consultation. We'd love to chat with you, and we'll see you again real soon. Have a great weekend, everybody.